Is there an on-air light somewhere? Hello everyone, I'm Arpan.
Hi, I'm Luis.
And welcome to your first day of class. So we're here to give you a quick rundown of everything you need to get started in the Artificial Intelligence Nanodegree program. Let's take a look at your classroom. Okay, so you should be able to see the program syllabus, and as you probably know, this program is split into two terms. One deals with the foundations of AI, fundamental concepts, and then the second term is on deep learning and applications. This is where we branch into different concentrations. Let's look at the foundations of AI, which will be your first term. You'll see a list of lessons. The first one, which says Welcome to the AI Nanodegree, actually has a lot of very useful information for you to go through, so please don't skip it. You'll get your time to go through all this material. I just wanted to point out some important elements, like the support walkthrough tells you about the different ways you can get support throughout this Nanodegree. One of the very innovative and very cutting-edge ways is mentorship in the classroom, and it's always available here. So if you click on your mentorship button, it'll open up on the side. What happens is you'll get assigned a live mentor, and you can check in with them from time to time, and they can help you make progress throughout your program. In addition to mentorship, we also have discussion forums. And particularly in these discussion forums, we have an announcements category for specific cohorts. So we'll keep posting regular announcements to keep you on track, point out things that you should be doing when the project due dates are and such. Right. So we have mentorship, we have forums. We also have a Slack community that you should definitely join if you haven't done so already. Let me show you what it looks like. This is what the Slack team looks like. Within that, it's organized by different topics that start with AI dash for the different lessons that there are in the program. And then you have these channels that begin with P dash, which are meant for each project. So if you need help with project, you can ask questions there. We also have office hours, which we hold pretty regularly throughout the week. So definitely show up for office hours and you can ask us questions live. So one of us instructors will be online at one of those times. In fact, in the support walkthrough, you should be able to see a calendar embedded, and you can add it to your Google Calendar as well to see when we have office hours during the week. In the Slack community, there are different channels you can join. One thing you should be joining, since you're the April class, is the April class channel. And let me just post a message here. This is from Luis's account.
It really sounds like me.
Yes. I'll try to type it like you. Yeah. So definitely introduce yourself to your peers. You will see us hanging around there. Some of your forum mentors and classroom mentors might also be there. All right. Another important part of our program is projects and reviews. Do you want to talk about reviews in general, Luis? How projects work at Udacity?
Yeah, reviews is actually one of the coolest parts of the program. Is you submit a project, and then you'll get an actual human that will review it. So we have a network of reviewers. You'll get feedback on the questions and on the code.
Right, and since this is a timed program in AI&D, we'll have some deadlines for you to complete your projects by. Keep in mind that these are not hard deadlines, like you'll not get thrown out of the program for not meeting them. All you need to do is make sure you finish and pass all your projects by the end of the term, which the end of term date, you should be able to see it in your classroom. The project due dates are highly recommended. Please try to stick to them so that you're on track to complete them. Projects can be definitely challenging, so budget enough time to work on them. And The good thing about these projects is you can submit them as many times as you need to. So submit once to get feedback if you're feeling stuck, or check in with your forum or classroom mentors or on the forums, resubmit it by making fixes, and make progress that way. And lastly, I wanted to point out that we're always open to getting feedback on this program. It is fairly new, so we have different ways of gathering feedback. One is through the forums and the Slack channels. Please let us know how we can improve things. If you catch any bugs, definitely tell us that. And we'll keep an eye on different discussions that are going on. If there are certain pain points, you can highlight them, and we might add additional content on those parts as well. Cool. I'll let you guys go through later on and explore all of the different materials that there are in this walkthrough lesson. But I wanted to give you a quick overview of what we have in the 2 terms in terms of curriculum, and then we can jump into taking questions. So in the first term, we start with a small project on solving Sudoku using AI, which I think you'll find very enjoying. Definitely try to complete it within the first week or so, just to get used to the full Udacity experience, submitting a project and getting a review and such. Once you're done with that, we'll start with some fundamental concepts in AI. We'll start with game playing, which is very interesting, and it's actually we phrase it as a type of search. And we move on to other kinds of search and optimization techniques, and you have a project as well related to game playing. Then we move on to logic and reasoning, so formal logic for representing knowledge and making inferences about it. And then we have a project that deals with planning, and this is where you apply your concepts that you learn from logic and reasoning. The final part is about probability and probabilistic models. So you learn about probability, basic probability, Bayes nets, doing inference in Bayes nets, and then creating hidden Markov models, which are a type of probabilistic model. That concludes the first term. Once you're done with this is about 3 months worth of content. You'll progress on to the second term, which includes deep learning and our concentrations. You'll be able to see this once you complete all the projects and pass all the projects in term 1.
Yeah.
You want to talk about term 2?
A review about deep learning. Basically, we have 2 parts, as Arpan said. The first part is the core deep learning, so we're going to have neural networks, then convolutional neural networks for image recognition, and then recurrent neural networks for things like sequence generation or series prediction. And that's the core part. Then this splits into 3 concentrations. One is computer vision, which we're partnering with Affectiva. The other one is speech recognition or voice user interfaces. We're partnering with Amazon, and the other one is NLP, natural language processing. We're partnering with IBM Watson. So each concentration will have like a part that is like very hands-on, where you use the API, and another part that is more conceptual, where you actually build a model.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And then you'll conclude the overall Nanodegree with a capstone project, yes, where you'll learn to apply all the techniques that you've learned throughout the program. And once you're done with the program, you might want to look for a job. And for that, we have a number of hiring partners who are pretty enthusiastic about giving an opportunity to our students. We'll have our career advisors also get in touch with you, mostly in term 2 or later in term 1. And they'll help you improve your profile, employment profile, and then how do you apply for different jobs, how do you prepare for interviews, etc. They'll help you with all of that, and hopefully you'll land up some awesome jobs. So that's all I wanted to go over at the beginning, but let's open it up for some questions. I see some coming on. I see a bunch of questions. Should we start answering these ones? Yeah. Yeah, let's
go for ones that I saw. What's the difference between speech recognition and NLP? So speech recognition is basically when your voice, when you talk, the computer turns it into text, then there's logic between the text, and then it turns it back to speech. So it's the whole pipeline. And NLP is more like, if you have a text, try to understand the context of it. And it says is more towards the language and the words, and the other one is more towards the sounds and the speech. Mm-hmm. Let me just quickly get another one that says, if you're in the Deep Learning Foundations program, How's the second term different? So it's more like deep learning is a lot of topics related to deep learning and very hands-on. Like there's this topic, how to use it. There's topic, and whereas the deep learning portion of AI and D is more like we pick a few topics and go deeper on it. So you can be in both, and you're not going to find a lot of overlapped topics is similar, but you're not going to be bored.
Right. The topics that are covered have some overlap in them, but like deep learning looks at these problems from a deep learning perspective, whereas in AI we have one section that is about building your base in deep learning, but after that your concentrations look at them from the problem's point of view and then apply deep learning to solve those problems.
Exactly. What else do we have? Wait, I don't want to miss the ones on...
I see an easy one. How many students are in this cohort?
Easy.
I think there are like 870 or so. So it's a pretty big cohort.
If I finish term 1 before the 3 months, will I be able to start term 2?
We haven't really discussed that possibility, but the way we're scheduling these terms is there is one term starting roughly every 6 weeks. So if you are done early, there might be a way to let you start on the next term if there is one starting pretty soon. But in general, like most of the students are going through the program at the recommended pace, so they're starting with their own cohorts.
Yeah. Still not clear the difference between the AI nanodegree versus machine learning and D. Yeah, good question. Machine learning is the part of basically like they do have overlaps. Machine learning has a deep learning section as well, but machine learning does a lot of like data wrangling, supervised learning that are not deep learning, for example, SVMs or decision trees, unsupervised learning, which we don't touch here. And it has also a reinforcement learning period, which we also don't touch here. And then this, so they overlap a bit on the deep learning part, but basically all term 1 is in AI and not ML. And the things I just said are in ML and not in AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in general, the fields definitely have a lot of overlap, but I personally see AI as a broader space within which machine learning is a very specific set of techniques. Now, if you're learning AI in general, you might apply machine learning to only a certain extent, but there are other factors that you need to think about. But when you're learning machine learning, then you want to dive deeper and learn about the different kinds of machine learning, like supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement. Those are the topics that machine learning nanodegree goes into more detail.
Exactly.
I think there's one from
Actually,
Julia.
for people, if we miss your question, just put it again because we're looking at the...
Yeah, I saw this one. So Julia is asking, I only saw job postings available on Udacity for students from the self-driving car nanodegree. Do you anticipate having a number of AI and D jobs available as well? Yes, we do. So as you can imagine, like the self-driving car nanodegree launched at least a few months before AI and D. And we got a lot of hiring partners for that from the very beginning. At AI&D, we also got a lot of partners at the beginning, but then we're also signing up more and more as time goes by. To a certain extent, this also depends on the kinds of roles that are available. Like with self-driving car engineers, the roles are very well defined, but for AI engineers, there's a lot of different possibilities. What we're going to do is try and, based on the concentration that you pick at the end, we'll try and focus you on jobs in that domain.
PM says, what level of knowledge in Python is required? I'd say a level of, as long as you know object-oriented programming, that's the most important thing, because the packages that we use are mostly that you create an object, that helps you train your algorithm, but I don't know if you want to...
Yeah, I would say like intermediate level Python programming. We do, as Luis mentioned, we do use a bunch of external libraries. For instance, for the HMM project, you'll use HMM-learn. And so if you're also trying to learn Python syntax during that time, it'll probably be a lot of additional work for you. So it's better to come prepared with that. You should be able to write sort of non-trivial programs, but it doesn't have to be like production-grade experience with Python.
Mm-hmm. Daniel Lin says, what would you recommend asking yourself researching as you choose a term 2 specialization? I would suggest, I mean, big part of it is what part of deep learning you end up liking from the beginning of term 2. If you end up liking the convolutional nets a lot, then you're probably going to want to go to computer vision. If you like recurrent neural networks, you may want to do either speech recognition or NLP.
Right.
If you want to add something.
Yeah, I think some of the paths are slightly more clearly defined, as Luis mentioned, but then you probably have your own interests. Would you like to work in processing more image and visual video data, or do you want to process more textual data? Depending on those choices, you can pick a concentration. And we're also trying to make sure that we have a path for you to come back and retake another concentration. So it's not that you only get to take one, but it is going to take additional time, and it's probably going to be a separate enrollment for another term.
Preet asks, what is the completion rate?
So we don't have one complete instance of the Nanodegree complete yet, so we don't know. But I think our students are progressing very well, and they're definitely progressing faster than our non-term-based programs. I think I'm probably blanking out right now on the exact metrics, but I think we have like close to half who are on track, but then others who are like submitting projects a little later, but then still completing their work.
But Novice, are there going to be any computational resources available for data-intensive projects? Yes. We'll have Amazon, like AWS services, like GPUs, and I think Bluemix from
yeah,
IBM.
IBM Bluemix credits available. This will mainly be for the term 2 projects where you
Mostly
might
for term
need
2.
additional computing power.
Yeah, so that's when you'll really need it. Cool. Question from Jason Zhang. Do we have group questions? No, everything is individual.
Yeah.
Projects, sorry.
Group projects, yeah. Thanks, I don't know.
Right. Everything right now is individual projects. In terms of group work, I think we definitely encourage you to form teams and compete in challenges like, for instance, if you have a data science challenge that comes up and you want to put together a team and compete, go for it. It's all, you have to kind of think of the AI&D program as part of your learning experience, but also come up with your own ways of advancing your skills.
Mm-hmm. Shalini asks, what is the hiring rate in AI&D?
I think the same answer as before. We still don't have a full sort of graduating class of AI&D because it started in January and it's about a 6-month program. So we can't say for sure right now, but we have a lot of very bright students in the program right now. So we're definitely looking at a healthy sort of hiring rate.
And okay, Hitesh asks, who are the AI recruitment partners?
Should be able to look this up on the webpage for sure, but
I'm guessing Amazon, IBM.
Right. So our partners are all sort of our partners in terms of making content as well as and hiring partners. So yeah, like IBM Watson,
yep.
Amazon Alexa, and Affectiva. They're a emotion analysis company. They use computer vision to track facial expressions. They've also expressed interest as being a partner. In addition to that, a lot of our other sort of Nanodegree partners have also been pretty open to considering AI and Nanodegree students.
Yeah, so this is a growing list. We're constantly in talks with companies. To what extent does this course train us to be job ready?
I think the approach we took was we went to, like, instead of taking a more academic route to teaching AI, we went to these partners and asked them, like, what kind of skills would you like to see in students, and built our curriculum based on that. So the first term of the AI&D, it might not seem that the skills are sort of required for jobs, but they are used throughout a different, designing a lot of AI systems. But in the second term is where you start learning the skills which are directly applied to jobs in AI today. And one of the very specific ways we're trying to integrate more industry influence is by partnering with these companies. So for instance, in the voice user interfaces concentration, you'll learn how to use Amazon Alexa Skills Kit to design Amazon skills that can go on the Echo, and you can deploy your skills that way. Similarly for the other concentrations. So once you graduate out of this program, you'll both have the AI fundamentals that are necessary for your long-term growth, career growth, but also knowledge of the specific technologies that are being used in the industry today.
Yeah, that's exactly it. To add, we asked them, like, basically what would you need to hire a person, and they said, yeah, like for most jobs, just know how to work the APIs really well. So we're teaching that, and for a few jobs more advanced, like research scientist or something, or research engineer or something, we have things like the more in-depth concepts. So we try to go for both.
Cool.
Cool. Sam asks, is Python 3 required for the projects? Like Python 2.7 is not allowed.
I think that's a more recent development. Like I think for AI Nanodegree, we've kind of stuck to Python 3 for all our projects, and it's in general a good thing. From past experience from other Nanodegree students have been asking us repeatedly to convert to Python 3, so that's what we've done with AI.
Octavio asks, will I be able to use C++ instead? Sorry, Octavio, no, it's all Python. It's going to be a little JavaScript in the Alexa portion of it, but
right.
As far as I know, no C++.
Yeah.
Shalini asks, given there are PhDs in AI, will ND graduates be preferred for the job?
That's a very good question. I think it depends on the job role, right? If you think of the different kinds of AI roles out there, there are some that are more research specific, where people are designing new algorithms or modifying existing algorithms, but there are only a limited number of such roles. Those are the places where a lot of PhDs in AI would be more applicable. But if you think about the vast majority of AI engineer roles, you will be applying existing algorithms and APIs and libraries to real-world problems. And those are the skill sets that we're teaching here in the Nanodegree. So at least it's our belief that you'll be well prepared for these jobs.
Yeah, definitely. Federico Spez says the C++ would be difficult, but I think Jupyter Notebook has a C++ kernel. Would that work out for Python notebooks?
It might. I think the reason to go with Python is to make sure that our reviewers are equipped to sort of have a consistent set of submissions coming in. If we start supporting a lot of different languages, that becomes difficult for us to sort of maintain. But I mean, you're always encouraged to complete projects in C++ outside of the Udacity curriculum.
Yep. Hisham asks, will the project be highly relevant to the lecture material, or it requires research or many additional topics not reviewed during the lecture? No, I think it'll be pretty similar to the lecture material.
Yeah.
What we do is we build a project, and then we build a lecture to get you to do that project.
Right. Yeah, most of our projects are directly related to the lectures. If there is any additional reading required, we'll typically reference you to it, either like online resources, or for instance, especially for the first term, we do recommend you to get the Russell and Norvig AI textbook. We have a section in one of the projects which refers to a part in the book, but you don't necessarily have to purchase it. We've linked you to an electronic version of that section. So.
And also in the second part, in the parts that require the usage of a API, sometimes we point you to a tutorial coming from the corresponding company.
Right. I see one from Flavio. It says, this course will get the difficult will this course be as difficult as ML Nanodegree, like beginner, intermediate, and advanced topics? It will. So it starts at a fairly basic level. You can imagine that if you have a computer science degree, or you've done some programming, then you should be good to start with the term 1, right, content. And then it shows you basically how AI is an extension of the computer science algorithms that form the basis of a lot of software development. And then term 2 does get into fairly advanced concepts where some knowledge of mathematics and linear algebra and calculus will be helpful for you if you want to understand those algorithms and topics properly, right?
Yep. But I would say, all in all, if you're comparing it to the machine learning Nanodegree, I think it's a similar level of difficulty.
Similar level of difficulty, yeah.
Joseph, will you have any novel projects such as one utilizing biological data?
That's interesting. It depends on what you consider novel. I think one of the projects, like the HMM project we have in term 1, is on sign language recognition. So there's a data set of videos where people have done a lot of recorded signs, and then it's actually pre-processed, so the hands and nose positions are tracked, and then you're asked to design an HMM model to recognize those signs. I thought that was pretty interesting, and I'm sure the deep learning sections also have pretty...
an image recognition where you tell the image of it's actually kind of cool. You tell what breed the dog is, but if you put a human, it'll tell you what kind of breed the human looks like the most. I won't tell you what breed I look like the most. But then we have things like predicting stock for the recurrent neural networks, or generating text. Something pretty interesting. You put in several texts of a certain type, and it returns text that sounds like those novels. So that's just interesting stuff.
See a question from Antonio. He's asking about what does the NLP specialization look like? What frameworks, technologies will be used? So like all the different concentrations, NLP begins with a short introduction where we bring in our partners, in this case IBM Watson, to talk about the applications of NLP in the wider industry and what the current challenges are. And then we move on to demonstrating what you can do with IBM Watson services. You go on to build a small project using those services. I'm hoping it'll be a fun project for you, but at the same time you'll be able to learn how to use this pretty industry standard API. After that, we'll dive deeper into the basics of NLP, how you can code that. We're still developing some of the content on this, but we'll likely use a mixture of NLTK, which is a pretty popular Python package, and scikit-learn for a lot of common tasks.
Cool. Daniel then says, if we had extra time for it, what is the best way to use our course textbook? Should we read specific chapters per week, etc.?
I think, and this mainly applies to the first term, we do have some optional readings at the end of each lesson. So if you want to follow along, you can go through the lesson and then read up the assigned readings. There'll be specific sections that are highlighted.
Preet asks, how much math is required? Are there any concepts I can brush up to prepare? I would brush up, calculus, things like derivative, what gradient is, linear algebra, polynomial equations, stuff like that, vectors, and a lot of probability. I would go as far as Bayes. If you know the Bayes theorem, you're pretty good. Mostly the intuition of math, right? How to think mathematically is more important than what you know or what not, because we show you what you need to know.
We have a set of warm-up problems that if you haven't done yet, that'll be a good place to start and to gauge what level of proficiency you need to start. I might share that in the Slack channel for April class. Be sure to join it.
Armand asks, will we be using DL libraries like TensorFlow or PyTorch? We'll be using Keras.
Yeah, pretty much.
Marcos asks, if I'm interested in recurrent nets applied to image processing context, example video sequence tagging, is there something on this, and which specialization would be the best in?
I think that's something that you might be able to explore as part of your capstone project, because a lot of our projects will be will take a fairly specific problem and then try and explore it further. If you're talking about something like this where there will be multiple technologies that need to be used, it's something that's great for a capstone project.
But maybe computer vision will be more.
Right. That's why you could do it as picking either the computer vision track or the NLP track.
Or NLP.
right?
Mm-hmm. Cool. Arvind, I'm from a mechanical background. Will I face issues looking for jobs related to AI after completion? I don't think the background matters a lot. I mean, we all have in machine learning or in AI. There's no, you can't really major in university in that, so everybody has their own background. Like you have your background, I come from math, and
Right.
so I don't think your background matters if you have the knowledge
Yeah,
and the skills.
I think the most important thing would be to work on a lot of different projects and make sure they're showcased either on your GitHub profile or on a separate sort of website. And Udacity actually has a profile component, so once you get into the Nanodegree, make sure to keep filling it out and updating it. And once you're ready, you can switch it on so that recruiters can then see your profile. I think the projects are more important than your background.
Yeah, if you carry a GitHub profile with good projects and good data you've analyzed, that's what you show in an interview. Mm-hmm. And teams, machine learning teams and companies, always everybody has a different background, and that's something that makes it the field very diverse and very interesting. So I would say it's a strength that you have a background, a different background.
See, Ryan is asking, like Alexa skills being the focus of term 2 for speech recognition or voice user interfaces, what will be the focus of IBM's NLP project? We're trying out a few different projects right now, testing it with some sort of beta testers, but they have a bunch of different really useful services. One is called the Discovery service, and then there is a conversation service, which is again closer to designing conversational agents, but still useful as an NLP interface, and then a natural language classifier. So in the project itself, you will use a combination of at least 2 or maybe 3 of these services.
Right, Loredana asks, can we publish our projects or coursework on GitHub publicly?
I think in general, in the past we've accepted like GitHub links for a lot of projects. What I would recommend is instead of posting just the raw submission for the class, go ahead and extend on that and make it, extend on that in the direction that you want to take it. Maybe put a nice user interface on it or turn it into a web app and then post it. Because if we have too many of these projects that are like exactly what is required in the for the curriculum, then we might see some sort of unfair sort of actions being taken.
Yep. Federico says, why was the degree length shortened? It said it was a year course, but I'm reading it 6 months now. Is this right? 6 months?
I don't think this was shortened. I think this was 3 months, 6 months from the very beginning. If you're referring to the machine learning nanodegree, I know that was estimated at 12 months or 9 to 12 months right before, but then we saw that students were graduating faster than we expected, and then we updated that.
Charlie Costello, will we use TensorFlow for deep learning? We'll be using Keras mostly.
Yeah, but I think the same concepts apply to TensorFlow as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And with the newer wrappers like TF-Learn that have come out, the syntax between like Keras and TensorFlow have become fairly similar. So it should be easy for you to extend there.
Yep. Cool. Antonio, DL seems to be the hottest thing right now since we're investing all of term 2 into DL. Do you guys see deep learning staying as the most powerful technique for the coming years? I would say it's pretty hot right now.
Yeah.
I see it as definitely increasing because it's also enhancing many other areas of machine learning that we didn't think DL was going to be a part of. For example, reinforcement learning seemed like pretty aside, but then now they use deep learning to enhance reinforcement learning. So I would say yes.
Yeah, I think for a long time deep learning was applied to only a small set of very well-defined tasks like image recognition and image classification and maybe a little bit of speech recognition. But then slowly we're starting to see so many varieties of applications come out. I think there's still a lot of potential to explore like how deep learning can be used. Some of the more recent ones that are really weird are like artistic style transfer, and then I was looking at something else the other day, but basically like think of deep learning as a tool, but which has a lot of potential applications. But in order to apply it to different problems, you need to really understand how well it works. And one of the goals for term 2 is to give you that fundamental basis in deep learning, and then to show you how you can apply it to different problems.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Flavio asks, are partners also hiring people outside USA? Nanodegrees Plus has many limitations on other country coverage.
Yeah, I think
I think that's up to the partner.
Right. I think with the Nanodegree Plus program, there is definitely a restriction on the job guarantee portion that we give, because we can only support people here in the US. But I think, as far as partners, right, as far as partners are concerned, it's totally up to them where or what locations they want to hire in. I know that there are some other Nanodegree programs which have more specific tie-ups in local regions, so we'll definitely try to do that for AIND as well.
Yep. Alfonso, will we use functional languages like Haskell or Prolog in the future of this course? I don't think so.
Yeah, we're not using Haskell or Prolog, but it's a very interesting discussion, because like when we were putting together, especially the first term, we were trying to decide whether to use, for instance, Lisp for some of the projects. But it turned out that many people are moving away from using very AI-specific languages, because it's harder for students. It's like an additional barrier for students to learn. But if you do have experience in that domain, feel free to experiment or try to implement these same projects in other languages as well. That'll be an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like to see it. Antonio, that's cool. Question, how did you guys, Luis and Arpan, learn AI? Did you guys learn it on the job or university? I think that's cool because we have two different answers.
You can go ahead first.
I learned it in the job. My background is math, and I was a mathematician for doing research for a while and teaching it. And I wanted to switch to industry, so I started looking at things, and I ended up at Google for a couple of years, and there's a lot of machine learning there. So I was at a machine learning team, and that's where I learned it. So a combination of on the job and a lot of online courses.
Nice.
So
mine is probably more of a traditional answer, but like I had more of a background in computer vision, but during my grad school I was taking some AI courses, and actually most of my AI experience is through projects and assignments. Like we had really challenging assignments that you could spend like 20-30 hours on, but at the end of it, when you got it, it was like such a nice achievement, and that's the way I ended up learning a lot of these AI techniques.
Cool. Snehil says, will term 1 and term 2 involve reading latest research papers on topics?
Yes.
Some of them will, yeah.
Yeah, especially the projects. The way we've designed the projects is there's a portion that you need to complete, the main project part, but then there's an associated research paper that you need to read, and then write a summary about. There are specific prompts in there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then our concentrations, like the first part, well, as you said, will be working with an API, and the second part we're trying to do something like a research paper or something just very new.
Mm-hmm.
Question again from Snehil says, are we going to use reinforcement learning in lectures and projects? Not in this.
Not in AI Nanodegree. Like we've tried to keep some of the topics separate because we already have it in MLND.
Yep.
But if you are interested in it, I think we also have a free course on reinforcement learning,
yep.
So you could definitely catch up there.
Machine learning Nanodegree. Daniel, will the base salary distribution for AI engineers compared to ML engineers? I Nanodegree page doesn't show the salary graph. I think companies even have no strict boundary on it.
Right.
At least I can tell you, when I was at Google, for example, like what's a machine learning engineer, what's an AI engineer, what's a data scientist. It's completely different than how at Facebook you would have those divisions. And so at the end of the day, you'll be in a team doing some kind of machine learning, artificial intelligence, but there's not a clear division.
Yeah, I think you can, in general, you can treat that to be comparable to what you're seeing on the MLND page. Yep. One of the reasons it might not be showing up on AIND yet is because there aren't enough roles which say artificial intelligence in the title, but you might actually need the skills that you're learning here.
Yeah, the kind of roles, a lot of roles would be like we need an expert in computer vision or NLP or something. It's not often that you'll get I need an expert in AI.
Right.
Snail says, will we study genetic algorithms in term 1 as well?
Yeah, I think there is a nice section in the first part on search and optimization where we do go through genetic algorithms.
Mm-hmm. But Navi says, what research groups do you work do you guys usually follow to keep yourself updated on latest AI advances?
Yeah, I think some of them are local here in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
I really like OpenAI's work, and if you've kept track, they've recently released some results on evolutionary strategies,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of relates to the genetic algorithms question. It's a different way of training neural networks. Instead of using back propagation, you only do forward propagation and then randomly take steps to optimize your function. Yeah,
Nice.
and it turns out that it's pretty efficient.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
I follow a
groups
couple of groups at Stanford. Give talks where it's called it's Salon. I go there sometimes, and we have computer vision group that some pretty cool stuff. Victor, is there a path to extend this AI knowledge to the reinforcement learning field?
Yeah, very much. I think in reinforcement learning it enjoys at being like sort of in the middle of machine learning and AI, because you have the core concept of learning from data, but then there is a very interesting aspect that this data is not just static data, but it's experiences or actions that your agent is taking in the world. So it's often sort of taught either in an ML course or an AI course. There are lots of like exciting new techniques that are coming out for reinforcement learning, like deep Q learning and policy gradients. So there's definitely a lot of work to be done there.
Yeah, for example, you can use deep learning to pre-train your data for many things. For example, if you train a computer to play some Atari game, you train on the pixels, but you can use deep learning algorithms to actually turn the pixels into, I don't know, the little parts of the game that then you can use you can apply reinforcement learning with to. I got lost. Loredana says, what do you think about combining AI with blockchain, plus or minus smart contracts, Ethereum?
That's very interesting. I don't know what the kind of application you have in mind, but is it something related to either automatically monitoring and keeping track of transactions and maybe finding any illegal transactions happening, or it could be that we could wire up a smart agent to perform transactions and buy and sell at optimal rates. Those are some interesting ideas.
Cool. Antonio, will the NLP specialization teach us about machine translation foreign languages?
Machine translation is definitely a topic we'll touch on. What we'll end up doing, I think, is we'll go through the building blocks that you need to create a machine translation pipeline, and then maybe demonstrate so that you can then put together something like that. I think many of the core concepts are fairly common. So one of the more sort of common techniques for translation these days is using recurrent neural networks, or LSTMs, long short-term memory networks, and you'll learn more about them in term 2.
Snehal says, when will term 2 syllabus for NLP CNN track released? Curious to know what projects we're going to do. Yes, very soon. We have a Medium post with it, and we're just getting it reviewed right now. Hopefully it'll be done published by the end of the week. I'll put it on Slack. Federico says, did they explain why this is a 6-month course? Yes, we did.
I think, yeah, it has been a 6-month course. Like the reason to keep it tight and to maintain deadlines is so that you can move ahead through the program with your cohort. These are some experiences we've gained from working with Georgia Tech on the online master's program, that in certain advanced fields, it's not enough for instructors and staff to support you. Sometimes the support of your peers becomes very important, and we want you all to progress together through the term. And we, looking at the topics that we wanted to teach, we felt like 6 months was a good overall timeline, divided into 2 terms.
2 terms, yeah. Alfonso, we will work on some project together, like for example, create the AI of a bot to fight against the others of this course, student versus students? That we have, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that we already have going. So nice. Once you complete your Sudoku project, the first small project, after that you'll start your game playing project, where you'll create an agent to play the isolation game. It's a really nice 2-player game, and then we have periodic competitions running. You'll get at least one chance, if not two, to enter your bot in a tournament against your peers.
Cool. Charlie, how much freedom will we have in defining our own capstone projects?
That's something that we're still working out. We will either follow an MLND-like approach, where we have a capstone proposal stage where you propose a project and then that gets reviewed and then you work on it. Or we might define some broad sort of ideas and then let you extend that according to your wishes. Does that sound reasonable?
Yep. Snehil says, will the A&D content be available long after we have finished the course for reference?
Yeah, I think any course that you enroll in will be available to you afterwards.
Mm-hmm. And also, does the hiring partner process work for selection of candidates? And I believe that's just company by company. Some big companies hire you and they take care of we're talking about visas, right? How does that work?
Yeah, I think for hiring partners, it depends on the specific partner. Some will basically give preference to you if you apply to them through their recruitment channels. But then there are some partners who directly look at your student profiles within Udacity. And you'll know more about this once you get career guidance in your program.
Mm-hmm. Daniel says, could you share some details about the computer vision term 2 specialization? Is it more useful for applications and static images or for video?
I think we have both topics being covered. We'll start with some of the very basic fundamentals like edge detection and gradients and stereogeometry, and then we'll move on to object detection and recognition, and then finally close out with a little bit of discussion on motion and video analysis as well.
Victor, have any startups spun out of student projects?
I don't know, not that I know of yet, but
Self-driving car?
In self-driving car and MLND, I know there are some students who are very enterprising and have opened their own sort of consultancies where they're working on different projects, but we haven't heard that.
So we're
for
counting
AI
on you
yet.
for that, Victor.
Yes.
Cool. Joe says, will there be an opportunity to work on other projects in term 2? For example, if I'm interested in computer vision and NLP, the answer is yes. We'll have a way to, when you finish the concentration, then re-enroll again in another concentration. Mm-hmm. So yes. Yitsui, are there any licensing considerations to be aware of for the capstone project? Will we own the code?
That's a great question. I would say that like for the purpose of the project, the code that you submit is, it's primarily being submitted to validate your work in the Nanodegree. But if you post it on GitHub later on and you include certain licenses there, then that's the license that applies to that piece of code. So it's not like Udacity is not in the business of stealing student projects and making profit from it.
Cool. Alfonso says, for some projects, we provide a virtual environment, for example, self-driving cars. Yes, we are working on hosting our projects in things like an Amazon machine image.
Right. Yeah. So we'll at least provide you with at least provide you with with instructions. Like for term 1, I think we have fairly detailed instructions on how to set up your local machines. But then for more complicated projects, we have either a Docker environment or an Amazon machine image that we'll provide.
Yep. Snehil says we'll be studying GANs in term 2 as generative adversarial networks.
Yeah, they're a very hot topic right now. I don't think we have that included in the current syllabus. But we are experimenting with this idea of releasing smaller bits of content from time to time, so it might be a topic that we pick up there.
Yep.
Yeah. Should we start winding down?
How are we doing?
I think so. I think we can. We've been going on for a long time, and we should also let you guys get back to learning because there is a lot of stuff to do. I mean, again, do not underestimate the projects. They do take a long time to go through, and often it's not like just a sequence of linear steps that you need to complete. Sometimes you'll go through almost till the end and then realize you're not getting good results, and then you might have to go back again and iterate on it.
Yep.
So definitely keep that in mind.
And be active. Reach out to others. Reach out to us. Yeah, use the resources. They're very useful. The forums, the Slack, everything.
I think it's a very healthy habit to distribute your sort of time you spend on the Nanodegree among different elements. For instance, in the classroom, try to come back to the classroom at least twice a week, even if it's for shorter periods of time. You don't have to finish like an entire long 1-2 hour long chunk at the same time. Work on it for a little bit, go back and come back to the classroom again. Also feel free to sort of reach out to us on Slack or on the forums, post questions. Be fairly aggressive about it. Don't sit back and imagine that you'll have to go through this whole experience on your own, because one thing is, our instructors are also there, but your peers are also there who are going through the same experience. So make the most of it.
And we love to hear from you, and as you learn from us, we learn from you. So we love to hear anything, any suggestions you have, any feedback.
Cool. All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.